My name is Sahar Ishtiaque Ullah, and I'm a Public Humanities Fellow in the Heyman Center. I'm also a doctoral candidate in Arabic and Comparative Literature in the Department of Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African Studies, and the Institute for Comparative Literature and Society. So my public humanities project was initially conceived of in response to the latest wave of anti-Muslim xenophobia and racism in the United States, and the normalization of the rhetoric of the Muslim ban and the policy attempts to put that in place. And what I wanted to do was create a public art symposium and put different Muslim artists who create works from various genres in conversation with each other. And the theme of the symposium would be at home in the world, and in resistance of discourses about identity schisms and divided loyalties. Initially, I shared my project with different partners, and I was introduced to the Center for Justice and Education and the Rikers Education Initiative, and I was invited to develop a series of storytelling workshops because of my background in storytelling and cultural consultancy over the last decade. They wanted the workshops to be replicable, so others could come in, other facilitators later on when I'm no longer here. The workshops were inspired by stories from classical Arabic literature, as well as contemporary Muslim storytelling. Each workshop highlighted a different technique of storytelling. So for example, in one workshop, we went over the story of Shahrazad and Shahryar in the 1001 Nights. And we had a discussion about the purposes of storytelling. And then the entire workshop after that was about developing superheroes and supervillains and creating origin stories based on diversity surveys. In another workshop, we used another story of a mother who loses her son in a car accident. And this was the voice of the storyteller is an older woman, not the age of the women in the classroom, but the women were able to connect with the story, and through that story, we talked about storytelling and performance, and how storytelling requires community, and how to stage a person's story with integrity, and that honors the storyteller. And the women came up with their own stories, and they divided themselves into producers and writers and directors and a performer, and they performed their stories in front of each other. Currently, my academic research is concerned with the intersection of medieval Arabic literary criticism and poetics. And specifically, I look at the poetics of the erotic prelude in devotional Arabic poetry. And broadly, I'm really interested in the ways in which texts are transmitted by way of affect and vocalization and performance. My departure from my academic work in this particular project is that I'm most concerned with my audience and the context of my audience. And that's, I wanted to introduce storytelling from the point of joy and the experience of joy. And for whatever temporary moments that we have in the classroom at Rikers, that we can engage poetry and literature and art in that way. The first of the series was about creating stereotypes and unraveling stereotypes. And one of the students was really annoyed, and she said, "Oh, is this another one of those sessions where we're going to talk about how to empower ourselves through breaking stereotypes in storytelling?" And so I said, "Listen, I know how annoying storytelling is," and I kind of dropped the instructor performance, and I was like, I also know how infuriating stereotypes are. So I told them a personal story about being at Penn Station and speaking to my partner, and a man interrupting us and telling us that we're in America speaking English. And all the women just jumped, and they were so angry, and they said, "Did you punch him in the face?" And I said, "Well," I thought about it. And then another woman said, "Well, of course she didn't punch him in the face. If she did, she would be in here with us." And it was really a great way of thinking about I've been working with these stories for so long, but they really not only understood it from in terms of storytelling technique, but in terms of experience. And that was really wonderful for me as a facilitator to be able to share that with them. Through the Public Humanities Fellowship and the experiences I've gained this year, I certainly want to continue developing and rethinking the initial Public Humanities project that I had proposed, and think about how to enter into that project from different vantage points. Recently, major organizations like PEN America organized the M Word, and the Museum of the City of New York has a Muslims in New York City photography exhibit. And it's reflective of an understanding that there needs to be more work done in amplifying the voices of Muslim artists. But again, it starts with the point of breaking stereotypes, and I don't really want to do that. I actually would like to take actually from what I understood from the women that I engage with at Rikers and think about how these stories and works of art are sources of inspiration and creativity, rather than just representative of breaking stereotypes.